My name is Emily Clark. I'm the director of a short documentary called Is Gay Marriage Next?
How did you come to this? How did you decide this was the short you wanted to make?
It's a good question because I think every filmmaker has like a short list of ideas that they want to do, and you have to choose a baby. So I work in advertising, and I really wanted, I make a lot of things, but I wanted to make something that was like personal and meaningful to me. And so I had this idea. Actually, I was on an advertising shoot in Canada, and I was like, oh, I'm just so ready to like make something like artful and have a political message, really. And it was like scary when I had the thought, because I was like, oh, am I going to be in it? And I am, but like just a little bit.
And speaking of artful, there's a lot of cool, I don't know if animation's the right word. Is that something somebody else brought to it? Is this something you wanted from the start? Did you see it that way?
Yeah, that was interesting because I don't have that many pictures from my childhood. So, and I'm telling the story of like my coming out and like growing up outside Philadelphia. So I had to get creative, and I'm like, well, I guess I'll try mixed media, have like animation that goes into live action, which is another thing I really wanted to do. And like the doc space is not just have like pure talking heads. So it was really nice. I found these guys, they were like so collaborative and amazing. And together we made like almost 3 minutes of animation that's peppered throughout.
Part of the sort of scrapbookiness of this plays into the fact that at the heart of it is this Newsweek cover. But I think that's probably fairly universal for queer people, that at some point, inadvertently, usually, you see something in the mainstream media and you go, I'm not alone.
Mm-hmm. Yes, totally. And I think, especially for my generation and older, as an elder millennial, we didn't have Instagram, we didn't have TikTok, we didn't have all these social media things. So we were so reliant on like the major media networks, and Newsweek, it was like Newsweek and Time were like the big magazines of the day in the early 2000s.
Right.
So we were so reliant on them to cover us, and I didn't even know I was like gay until like late teens, but like this magazine cover that featured a lesbian couple was like kind of I wouldn't say like I saw it and realized I was gay. I would say like I saw it and it was the straw that broke the camel's back. I was like, okay, I have to come out. Like it was so powerful. I was like, I'm coming out of the closet now.
How was that received? Family, friends, work?
Yeah, I think it was a very early 2000s reception. So like not in a bad way at all. I wasn't kicked out. I didn't like lose touch with my family. Like nothing like that. But it was very much like, I think this is a phase. Do you remember those years?
Oh, yes.
These years. My friends were great, but there was a little bit of like family took a couple of years to like come around. Totally.
I like to think that my being trans is a phase and that I'm in year 62 of it. It takes me a little longer to outgrow phases than most people.
Right. Such a ridiculous thing that we all had to like fight against. And now, of course, like we've almost gone full circle and we're back to like having to fight for our rights, which is a really crazy thing to live through in such a short amount of period, to gain so many rights and then to see them like in peril again, like
things that we thought were long since decided.
Exactly. And I talk about that in the film. I say like, I guess I was naive. Like I thought progress was permanent, but like, it's not. It's like, we're on this pendulum and it swings forward and it swings backward. And like, please, dear God, do not let us see it swing backward. Even though it is for, specifically the trans community, under attack every day.
How long of a space was there between this Newsweek cover and the actual marriage equality?
Let's see. I think it was 12 years. Yeah, there was a short 1 month between me seeing the cover and coming out of the closet, but then there was a long 12 years of actually gaining that specific right.
As you say, you've got this short list of ideas. You decide this is where I want to go to. Tell me about the hunt for finding these two women.
Yes. So the story is that this lesbian couple was on the cover of Newsweek, and the headline on the magazine said, "Is gay marriage next?" Because it was 2003. And so people were like, oh my God, is this going to be legal? And of course, we're asking the same question now in reverse.
Yeah.
Is this going to be taken away? I really just Googled them. Well, first I found the magazine. That was like a big thing because I had this memory of it, but like kid memories, like you
Sure.
don't know what year, it could have been any year. So I hunted it down on eBay and somebody was selling it in like Illinois. And I was like, yes, that is the cover. So I got it. And on the front, on the cover, it had their names. And so I was like, oh, perfect. So I just Googled them. And lo and behold, they lived like 20 minutes away from me.
Oh, wow. And now, of course, we do have social media where you can, you don't have to be a private investigator to sort of track people's comings and goings.
Yes, yes. And even weirder, I had a friend in common with one of them. So that's how I got like, introduced pretty quickly, was like we knew the same people, which was so weird. But yeah, it just really worked out, made it so much easier.
They both seemed very kind, very open to what you wanted to do, which I imagine must have been at least some source of anxiety. You track these folks down and you share with them this idea that, yeah, I would love to do a short doc on this, and being told, nah, no, thanks. That was a long time ago. Not interested.
Totally. Yeah. There's always that moment where you're like, and it's a weird thing to ask people to be in a documentary. It's not like they're not famous. They did this like magazine cover 20 years ago. They're like, really haven't thought about it since. And then suddenly some stranger shows up being like, this changed my life. Like, it's a really intense thing to just like share with people in like a coffee shop who you just met. But they were both just so supportive and so into, talking about the whole journey they went on and really making like a parallel story with what's happening now in America.
But that scene where you sort of gush a little bit about that, where you make it clear to them, the emotional response back from them is really the heart of that movie, is that moment. The thing about this with queer youth, and that this is very much the case with the trans youth who are being attacked right now, is that if you can't see a past, if you can't look behind you and see, oh, no, there are queer elders, there are people like me who were here during this period and during that period and before I was born, then it's really hard to see a future.
Yeah. And I think that might be one of the reasons we did all get so emotional during that like thank you moment, was because like they didn't have as much as I had even, like they came out however long, 13 years before me, whatever. And it's just like people like them have made it easier for the people who follow. And it's just like, it's such a good reminder that you have to be out. You have to like really make yourself public, because you never know who's going to see you or hear you and be inspired that they can do it too. So the film is a little bit meta in that way, where I'm thanking people for, making a piece of media, and I'm also doing the same. So it comes full circle.
Was that a thought that, 30 years from now, when you're this age, someone might come up to you and say, that documentary, that changed my life. That gave me the courage to come out.
That's the dream. I think, I've been playing it at film festivals around the world, but I've traveled to a lot in America, and people are really affected by it, and they thank me for making it. And that's like, I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm saying like, you need to make things that are visible, and specifically about the coming out process. I feel like it's something we all do, and then you just kind of like move on. And so taking that moment of pausing and being like, no, the coming out process is hard. It's difficult. Like, let's all cry about it for a minute and then move on, because we have bigger battles to fight. But that, I think, is why it's like affecting people, because we all can relate to coming out.
Last question. I'm wrestling with the words so that I ask this delicately. There was a time when documentaries, you had no idea who was behind the camera. And from my limited experience, I'm thinking maybe around the time of Michael Moore, that changes when the filmmaker starts writing themselves into the narrative. Tell me a little bit about that decision.
Yeah, I really struggled with that, like how much of me to show and be in it, because I wanted to tell my story as like the jumping off point to talk about the larger story of politics in America. So I think that was, working closely with my editor just to make sure like the story was really tight, and I kind of got out of there as fast as I could so that we could focus on, the heroes who are the women, and even Marcus, who was the editor-in-chief at Newsweek who made the decision to put them on the cover. But I wanted it to be their story. But yeah, there was no way of getting out of this being like a very personal tale to me. So the way it started from the very beginning, when I realized, oh my God, I can actually find these women, I knew that I was going to be an integral part of it. I just struggled with, how much of me-ness to include. So yeah, I didn't want to be too navel-gazy, but I am in it.
It felt like the right balance.
But yes, I very much wanted to make them the heroes, and they are.
Before we go, here's your Academy Award moment. Are there people involved in the production that you want to give a shout out to?
Oh, I mean, the whole crew was amazing. I tried to hire as many queers as I could, which is so fun. I was like, no, this is a very specific story. And I knew I was going to become emotional. So I was like, I don't want like weird energy in the room. I wanted everyone there to be like, I totally know what she's going through. Like, this is so true. But no, the crew was like absolutely incredible. My wife was the EP, so shout out to her because she had to watch a million rough cuts. And my editor, JP, was like just so good. He just kept the pace like so snappy throughout. Nothing drags. Everything is like to the millisecond precision good. And that was all on him. So many people to thank.
Emily, thank you so much for this. Can't wait to share it with Film this month. Next month. Same thing.
Yeah, exactly. But thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it.